What's up, friends? Can't Flip or Ship here. This is not my normal type of video today. I'm going to be going a little deeper than I usually do. Ooh. But that's all right. I figure some people like it, some people don't. And it's going to be a video talking about basically using economics to justify why it makes sense more so to spend a little bit extra money and actually get something that's a little bit better. So think about like any Grail Balisong that you have or that you like or that you want. And think about like people who first start the hobby. So this video is basically going to be justifying or talking about using the law of marginal utility to explain how it makes sense for people to really actually splurge and actually get that expensive Balisong. And it might not make a lot of sense in the beginning because you might be kind of like, well, you know, it makes a little bit of sense, but it doesn't still, damn, I need to get that. It makes a little bit of sense, but it doesn't still justify, there we go, spending it, but I'll explain it to you in a bit. So the caveats are this: it pretty much applies to any Balisong, but there is a certain point where they start to get too expensive for even this to make sense. Like, for example, like with Heibel knives and stuff like that, some of the stuff, and it's nothing against the guy, but some of the stuff he makes is like too much for this to even apply in the first place. But that being said, this will apply for almost just about every other manufacturer. Shit, people are gonna think a gun went off or something. But yeah, so basically to start it off is that in economics there's a term called the law of diminishing marginal utility. And basically what that states is that for like every additional unit that you have of a certain product, the overall value or the marginal utility of that product decreases. And the marginal utility is meaning that like the relative usefulness or what utilities and services that it will provide for you. So a good example for this would be for people who have like water, like when you go and buy a water bottle at the store, you're not thinking like, oh, okay, I'm buying this to justify so that I can survive and have water. You're thinking of it because you need water in that moment. Or like whenever you're buying pants, you're not thinking of the value of clothes. You're thinking of the value that specific pair of pants is going to bring you. And so for a lot of these people, or in a lot of situations where you're going to buy stuff, it comes down to like, it's basically the same example of like collectors. So like people that collect things, when you first get something, a good example would be just like regular pocket knives. Like when the first time you ever buy a pocket knife, you're buying that pocket knife because that's going to be a tool that you can use to cut. It's going to be a tool that you can have for other things that you might need it for. And it's going to be a tool that you can have to show off and things like that. Hey, how's it going, man? Just making a little video. But yeah, it's going to be a tool that you can use. And then as far as Balisongs go, you'll be able to say, oh, okay, now I can learn all these tricks. So when you get that knife, you're getting all of those things. You're getting a tool that you can use that you don't have. You're getting something where you can start to learn tricks. And you're getting something that looks nice, sounds nice, and all of those little things, right? But when you get to the second Balisong that you're buying, now you're in a place where it's not really the same because, oh shit, I almost cut myself. It's not really the same because you already have something to cut. You already have something to learn all your tricks on. So in that case, the only thing that you're buying it for is that it looks different or that it provides a different vibe or look or any sort of thing like that, right? And so in that instance, it's no longer as useful to the person as the very first one is. And so the more that you get, the more Balisongs you get, the more this starts to apply, is that you're starting to want Balisongs for more marginally small reasons, or they're having a smaller marginal utility. So when you first get one, you're like, I can get a Balisong because I can do all these tricks, or I can get a Balisong because I need one so that I can start trying out all this stuff. But then eventually you're starting to say, oh, I don't have a Balisong in titanium. So that's the marginal utility that provides. You already have a Balisong. You're not getting it for a Balisong. You're getting it because you want one in titanium. Or I can get a Balisong that sounds good, and you're getting it for that reason because it sounds good. And so those are the differences in things that cause balisongs to have different utility. And the further you get along the hobby, that's why guys are spending thousands of dollars on some balisongs that are slightly different or like customs, because it's the only difference in marginal utility that they can justify. Because if you want to get another balisong, it has to have some sort of utility to you, but the utility is marginal because it's smaller than it originally was whenever you very first got a balisong, because it doesn't provide those services and those use cases that it would, because you can't justify and say, I need a balisong because I need to learn to flip. Well, you already have one, you already know how to flip. Or I need one because I need one in titanium, but you already have one that's in titanium. And so it comes down to the point that the more you get of something, the less that you're getting out of it. And eventually you get to the point where there's little things that are making the big difference between whether you get something or not. That's why you see like a lot of hobbyists, they're always buying shit like, oh, that's a 1973 coin and it's got a little chip in the corner and it's a misprint, because that's the marginal utility that they look for, because it no longer provides the original value that the first unit of something that they got did. So your first balisong is always going to have the greatest level of utility. And that being said, my justification is this: I've noticed that because of this type of trend, a lot of people, they tend to do better when they get one quality thing, and then you can't really look for marginal utility anywhere else, because it provides basically everything that it would need to. And so in that instance, that's why I say, like, if you want to get like a expensive balisong, it actually might be better for you in the long run in terms of the psychology of it, and your overall, I don't know how this is just my theory. This is not like, we're already into the point of like, I've already explained the rest of it to you, but now I'm just kind of going off into like my own side tangent, is that I think that it would make a lot of sense for a lot of people to really consider going about trying to get something that's a little more expensive, because they're not going to have that urge to be like, oh, it doesn't have this or it doesn't have that. It needs to have like this specific thing or that specific thing. Because if you get something that has everything that you need and want, you tend to kind of shy away from getting more of something. And that's why, like, whenever I had got my Kraken, I really shied away from buying more balisongs for a good long little while. And it's just because, like, when the balisong provides everything, and whenever it covers up a lot of that stuff that people would be saying, like, that they want for marginal utility in something, well, then it gets to the point where they're like, they don't want anything else, they don't crave anything else from the balisong. So my justification is that if you are very first starting, so that's the sad caveat to this, is that if you're already in the loop of buying balisongs and getting a bunch of different balisongs, this might not necessarily work for you. But if you're very first starting out, this is perfect for you. Go ahead and save up and justify getting something that's a higher quality balisong rather than getting a bunch of cheap ones. And you'll probably be less likely in the long run, I think, to actually spend a ton of money on them, or end up being in the cycle of constantly having to buy to feel happiness in the hobby, because you'll have everything you need, you'll have all the utility you need from something, and it won't necessarily be you won't have to look elsewhere for it, because it has everything that you need. So yeah, that's me trying to use economics and the law of diminishing marginal utility to explain to you why you need to spend $1,000 on a balisong. Rock on.